My name's Nate, and this is Heavy Pedal Garage. This time on Heavy Pedal Garage, we're gonna find the imperfections on all these panels after our last round of primer. We're gonna get them taken care of. We're gonna have to put some glaze in a few spots, I know it. I'm getting really wore down from sanding all these pieces, but you gotta put the time into it. If you don't make it right now, and you put paint over that garbage, it's just not gonna be good. You wasted all that time. So I want these perfect, as perfect as I can get them. But really, my goal for this video is to not only fix these issues and get these blocked with 400, I'm gonna do a light blocking here, is to go get the car and bring it back to this garage and get these panels put on it so that I can block across the body gaps and do the rear quarters, the roof, and the hood. So let's get this done. I want to see this car back together. This should be the last time that I have to put this car back together, take it apart, put it back together before paint. So kind of a milestone here. I'm really excited, especially excited to hear my baby run. Let's get her going. Well, here she is. Been neglected for a couple months. Hasn't started. Got it over here at an undisclosed location. Super secret spy stuff. And it's just down the road at my mother-in-law's house. She was willing to let me keep it in her garage, so I got the battery charger on it. Let's see if it starts. Nope, she's gonna need a little more love than that. Sparkle, sparkling Merlot pearl. Show you the back tail panel, trunk. Yeah, like it. Just got to get some color on the rest of it. Let's go for a ride. So as far as my approach with getting these busted down to the next grit, I've got my assortment of blocks here, hard and soft, so I'm gonna play with those back and forth. I'm gonna break out my long block to do these doors, but I'm also gonna experiment where on the door there's that little bit of a bevel. In the past, I used a piece of PVC pipe with sandpaper on it to kind of block into that slight bevel and bring that out all even. So I may play with that again. As far as the process goes, I am going to focus on those areas that have the marks first and try to get those right. That way, if I have to put some glaze on it and then spot treat with a little bit of epoxy sealer primer, you know, I'll be able to blend that into the rest of the panel. So basically fix the big problem areas first and then block the rest of the car down once the problem areas are right. Put these pieces back on the car, and then when I block the quarters, really be able to transition those seams between the fenders and the doors, and then the doors and the rear quarter, because I want to treat this as all one big panel with, you know, little gaps in between, and having them back on the car, the pieces back on the car, and then blocking it all at once to do that final blocking hopefully will help me, you know, address those across the gap transition. So that's how it's going to work. I'll bring you back around. Don't need to bore you with more sanding stuff, so we're going to get it going and we'll see where we end up. So what we have here is a whole Saturday's worth of work. I got all of these blocked down to 400. Turned out pretty good. Both doors are the only ones that have some issues, so I'm gonna have to spray some primer on that. The other door is pretty minor, but it's about the same. So I might be really picky here, but I'm sure the camera's not gonna pick it up. But I've got just a slight little wobble right down there. Everything else is golden. So we'll see how it looks when it's on the car. When I shoot the primer on this, I'm probably gonna dust over just a few little shiners that came through. Really happy with that. But this bumper, I wanted to show you guys this. I've been wet checking everything, and actually I've even been doing a little bit of wet sanding. But you guys, if you have not checked out the channel, consider subscribing. But really what I was going to say is go back and see how rough this bumper was. And I mean, I'm just so happy. It turned out really good. Can't wait to see it painted and on the car. So before we jump into the next step here, I just wanted to point out, I knocked that off the chair yesterday. Didn't film it because I want to keep this family-friendly channel, and man, there were some words flying. Luckily, you know, didn't really do too much. I do have some spider cracks now. Last night I was also sanding on this door, which is on top of the toolbox, and it slides on top of the toolbox. And I must have been leaning into it or something when I was sanding it, and it started to roll off of the edge. And I caught it, and it was a lot of effort to keep it up on the table and not knock that fender over too. So I need to get these back on the car before I destroy them. So here in a minute, I'm going to have my wife help me move these parts out so we can start putting them on. But in the meantime, out with the old, in with the new. Alright, doors are on. Got all kinds of sweaty prints on them. It is hot and humid today. Unbelievable. But we're getting it done. This one wasn't so bad. That one we had to wrestle with, but this one went right on. That was quite the tool to use. So right now, getting my front fender wells out, getting them cleaned up. I'm gonna take the fender, flip it over, put it on this. It's padded. Put a bunch of padding in there. Mount the wheel well to the fender, and then with some help, flip it right on and bolt it. I got my tape peeled back and kind of stuff some paper in there to just protect that jam a little bit, but it should be fine. Give you guys a quick update of what's going on here. As I mentioned, I'm busting down the rear quarters, the trunk with 320 grit, and I'm doing that dry, but then I'm wet checking. Just using a little bit of water in my 320 and to just kind of wet check it and see what I got, see if there's any riffles or wiggles in there. So that's how it's going. My body line, when I wet checked it, was not right. I wasn't real happy with it. So it had some wiggles. So I'm just wet checking it right now and then taking the 320 wet sand and just trying to fix it up. So I'm working from the top of the body line down to the tape. Once I got that to where I'm happy with it, I'll string another piece of tape on the top side of this line using my bottom tape as a guide, peel the bottom tape off, and then I'll work from the bottom of the line up to the next top piece of tape. So hopefully we can get that all straightened out, and then I'll bring you back here a little later. But my next step is to do the quarters, the trunk, and all of that in a 400 grit wet and see where I end up. It is hot today, guys. You can probably hear the cicadas going. That is the sign of hot summer weather in the Midwest, for sure. Okay, so I have the whole car blocked down now with 400 grit. I'm liking where everything turned out. As I've mentioned, I'm going to get ready here to spray some more primer on this thing. Just going to touch up the spots where the shiners came through. I have a little bit of body filler work that I did on the door and on the rear quarter that I want to cover up, and a couple areas where some filler kind of bled through the primer. No problem. So we'll get this car all cleaned up and then we'll shoot some of that primer and see where we ended up. But the biggest debacle is the bumper. Last time I was priming it, I had it sitting on the chair, and after it was all primed and I was blocking it down with 400 grit, I bumped the chair and the whole bumper went crashing to the ground. So in the last video I showed you how you could put a big dent in your door, and in this video I show you how you can crack your Endura bumper when you have it ready for paint. So it fell and it had some cracks in it on the sides and around the back there, or on the bumperettes. So I went ahead and took it down with 220 and then scuffed it with 320. I'm just going to go ahead and reprime the whole bumper, and then it'll be ready to scuff again, and then I'm going to put the hot rod black on the bumperettes and the rubber part of the bumper. So let's get all this stuff cleaned up and we'll do some touch up here with a little bit of that PPG CRE epoxy primer, thinned down to about the consistency of skim milk. So we'll throw it on there as a sealer to be scuffed, hopefully one last time. All right, so everything laid down real nice on this bumper, laid out nice and smooth. I still have some cracks that they're coming through. I thought I sanded them pretty good, but I guess not. So we'll see what happens when I block that out. I might just have to take another round of primer on that, but we'll see. Now, as far as the car goes, everything covered up real nice, and I kind of shot a little bit of primer over everything except for the roof. And I'm going to do that as a guide coat. That's why it looks kind of blotchy. I just, held my gun out and spritzed some on there, but where I really needed the coverage, I think I got it for the most part. So as I've been saying, the next step in all this is going to be one more round of sanding. Probably block it with 600, maybe 600 wet, and my tech sheets call for 500 to 800, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then I've got some gray Scotch-Brite, which is like, I forget, 600-700 grit, comparable, whatever. I'll probably scuff everything that I can't get with sandpaper down with that, and then should be time to clean and shoot some paint. So thanks for catching me on this one. I know it's been a while. It's been crazy summer, getting a lot of other stuff done with work and home and all that, so I haven't had a whole lot of time on the car, but it feels good to be back out in Heavy Pedal Garage. Thanks guys. Hit the like button, comment and subscribe, and catch me next time.